Welcome to the Champagne Wives podcast. I'm your host, Kelly.
And I'm your co-host, Nicole. Hey, Kel.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay. Normally you're like, I'm good, boo.
I'm good, girl. Like I told you already, the plight with these lashes. Like literally, I have glasses on today because I plucked every single lash that I had remaining out of my eye, and my eyes are hurting.
I'm sorry about that.
Me too. But I sent Nicole a text message with all of like my lashes on the bed.
On the white sheet.
Like RIP to these lashes.
Hey, here go me. I was like, oh, I didn't know what the hairs were.
You did?
I didn't know what the hairs were.
Oh.
And I was like, thank God.
You didn't read the message?
I just saw the picture with the lashes on the white sheet. Girl. And then I was like, thank God those are lashes.
Yeah, I can't do it. And we've talked about this before. I've said this before that like, I can't do lashes for like a long period of time. And like, I have to give myself breaks whenever I do get them. But this is just like a reminder that like, I can't do that shit. I'm gonna just like let my lashes grow out and just let them be great.
Well, you have lovely, thick and full lashes. So that's not your plight. Me, on the other hand, I don't have lashes. So I
don't have lashes.
You still have lashes. You have more than me on a good day.
I have a few.
So I subscribe to the lash game. But it's a tough time right now to have lashes because
pour some out for the dead homie show.
Rip. Allergy season is terrible right now here in Houston. So it's just like everything itches. I want to pluck them out. I want to do the same. Yeah. Anywho, cheers.
But cheers, sis. Thank you.
So other than the lashes, how's your week been?
So far, so good. I can't complain. Other than that, I have nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
Been very slow at work. So have not had much complaints on that front. But other than that, I'm good.
Can't complain. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be back in the seats. We've changed our recording day a little bit. So we can make sure that we get y'all this episode on Thursday at 1, like we said we would. So excited to be able to do that. Last week's episode, we talked about nice guys and bad guys. And we had opinions. But
like we always do.
Like, right. But I think at the end of the day, we decided that being somewhere in the middle, having a nice guy that has some bad boy tendencies is probably the best place to be and not to over-index on one side or the other.
I think that's where we kind of ended up last week. Yeah.
And so thinking about this week's episode, depending on where you are in your journey, right? If you are choosing to date or you're actually looking for a partner to settle down with, you're probably wanting to figure out like what should be some of those traits on your checklist for a partner and a long-term partner, potential spouse. So thought it would be cool to talk about or give our audience some tips and tricks on the key to marrying well.
Actually, a recommendation. I think one of our listeners actually sent this.
Did they?
Sent this out. Yeah.
Well, I can't take credit for shit.
You can't. You didn't come up. Wait, what did you say?
I can't.
You can't what?
We came up with it.
Oh, no. But we're giving the people what they want is basically my point, right?
Incredibly important.
Of course, it goes very well with our season. And this happened like a while ago. It wasn't something that like somebody reached out to us about like last night, but the girls did want to know just kind of what are some secrets or the key to marrying well. And we have thoughts and we have opinions. And these are just our thoughts and our opinions.
We are not trained professionals. We are just
and we don't pretend that we are.
Right.
But I think that's a really good question. And I had to really dig deep to like be thoughtful about this because I really wanted to hit it on the mark as accurate as possible based on like my own experience. Because there's a lot of things that like people can go down the list. You got to be this, you got to be that, and that, and that, and that. And I mean, how genuine is that, right? Like how genuine, I want the person to be my friend. I want the person has to have a sense of humor, whatever it is. I just feel like a lot of the things are cumbersome. And so I was very thoughtful about my list. I only really narrowed it down to 4. Oh. I know you always have a longer list than me, but I can definitely improvise if we need to.
Yes. We always feed off of each other.
And I'll just kind of run them off like one at a time because I think each of them kind of deserves its own attention. Okay. Right. So 1, the most important thing in my opinion is staying in power. And I say this all the time.
Yeah.
What I call it, rolling up your sleeves and fighting for the relationship, AKA staying in power. And I think that, as a society, we are conditioned to magnify our partner's weaknesses while also ignoring our own. And I also said this on Proof Season, right? Being with someone is like holding a mirror up to yourself so you can see your own shortcomings. But I think that someone who is willing to stay committed past like the infatuation or the love bombing stage and wants to grow with you is important. I also think that someone who is willing to put up with your bullshit, because we do come with a lot of bullshit, a lot healthy bullshit, right?
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
It is.
But nobody's perfect, right? But not only like someone who's willing to put up with your bullshit, but who's also willing to work on their own. I think that's super important because, again, and I've said this before, I think that, not think, but know, and relationships are very difficult. Yeah. It takes a lot of work. And I think, the dissolution of a lot of marriages is because one person just stops trying for whatever that reason is, right? Yeah. But I think that when you go into a marriage, it's with an understanding that, again, through the thick and thin, sickness and health, richer or poor, all of those vows. And so I think having a partner who has that staying power and who's committed to stick it out through whatever the issues may be in the relationship, unless it's, abuse or serial cheating or something that like is detrimental to the other person. Yeah. I think that you're able to work it out. I think that creates a sustaining relationship when two people are really committed to staying together in a relationship.
Yeah, I think it solidifies the foundation of the relationship as well. So agree on staying power. Is there...
You go ahead. Oh, yeah. This is like a back and forth.
Okay.
A back and forth.
All right. Oh gosh. All right. Well, so yes, that's a trait. And then here's a little bit of advice that I had, and we'll go to more traits later. Be intentional about who you spend your time with and how you spend your time with them. Said another way, take dating seriously. So if you are in the space of wanting to, find a mate. I know in today's world, like casual dating is a thing, having a roster, having choices, that's a thing when you're dating. I'm not going to sit here and say that I disagree because you need to figure out, what traits and qualities you don't like in a person, but make sure that you are spending your time in an intentional way. And don't just hang out with the person for the sake of hanging out with the person, and not for like financial or material gain, but make sure that when you're spending time with someone, that it's time that helps you figure out your sense of discernment around what you like and what you don't like. Because if you just kind of go into a situation when you're dating and with more of a YOLO mindset, I think you run the risk of accepting things that maybe you wouldn't have been willing to accept if you had just more intentionality behind it. So a tip that I would say when you're single and you are looking to figure out who you want to be with.
Yeah. And I'll go back to staying power too, because I feel like a lot of times nowadays, specifically with these microwave relationships, like at the first sign of like trouble, people are
they're ready to dip.
They're ready to dip. And, with all of these, I don't know, articles and posts and videos about red flags, I think people's spidey senses are on high alert. So when they do see something that just maybe doesn't fit on their list of things, they're running out of the door.
Yeah.
So there are other things I feel like that come along with, someone who, for all intents and purposes, has staying power in a relationship that looks like someone who, I don't know, maybe you disagree with, or maybe has a flaw that, not a fatal flaw, but a flaw that you don't necessarily like or that aggravates you, but you're willing to work or see past that and then work with a partner, and then vice versa, right? Somebody seeing a flaw in you or something that they don't necessarily like, in you with your personality, but still just decide to stay with you, stick through it, work it out, build a friendship, X, Y, and Z. Right. So I think that's what that looks like with dating. But I think, again, there's some other things that kind of come along with that, that staying power, right? And why a person will be willing to be in a situation with someone who may rub them the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Based off of like, I don't know, some type of action. Like, I don't know, like maybe something silly like
they leave the toilet seat up.
Exactly. Leave the toilet seat up.
So I don't know. I think,
or they're not great at communicating, right? Their communication
so to
skills.
me, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So if I were single and, dating and trying to figure out like who my partner is going to be, and making the decision around who I want to be with for the rest of my life, I'm the red flags, like I'm paying attention to them. I am, even if you have staying power, like you might have staying power and work my last MFing nerves.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you have certain traits or qualities or exhibit an inability to communicate effectively, or that you're not considerate, that you're not thoughtful, but you have staying power, I mean, those are things that in my mind would have me say, you know what? You're a great person because you are willing to stay, but just maybe not great for me.
Right. And so the end of what I said, staying power means is accepting your bullshit and willing to work through their own.
Right.
So if a person is lacking all of those things, but it is called to their attention and they're actively trying to work on it, then I think that is, a green light to stay in a situation. Now, of course,
it's worth seeing to see it through.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, if you continue to have the same conversation 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, whatever, then that's too much. And then obviously this person is not trying to grow. Right. So staying power doesn't matter because you're going to stay here and be dead weight, child. Like we don't want that. But if you are actively working on yourself and you want to grow as well, then yes, absolutely, we can make that work.
What else is on your list?
Another one is someone with driving goals. I know that you said a few weeks ago, it pissed a lot of people off, the 100K comment. However, I feel like if a person has drive and goals and they are making $100,000 a year, but they don't want to stay there, like they're striving for more, then it's absolutely okay to be with that person
1,000%.
and work with that person. I also appreciate the fact when someone can show and teach me new things and vice versa. Like you can show and teach each other. It's kind of like a yin and a yang. And so I really wanted to drive that home because there was a lot of misconception, I feel like, about what you were talking about. But we were talking about it in the context of high value.
I love how you literally,
No.
you're just like explaining my words. And I love it. You just have a better job of it than I do.
Just saying, we're talking about it in the context of the episode when we're talking about high value men. But I'm just saying that if you're dating, mind you, what I am willing to tolerate at 40 is different than what I want to tolerate at 20. So, now maybe if I was single, if you're trying to figure it out at 40, don't know if that would be.
That'd be.
You know what I mean? Like, what have you been doing for the last 20 years? But maybe 20s, 30s, somebody who, has a career, but also trying to build and has a goal of an accomplishment that they're trying to reach. I can respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's got to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So please know that there are very few people, and we are in HR, so we see this, right? We see what starting salaries are, and we're in different industries, and we have worked in different industries, so we know what starting salaries are. The reality is, if you are in your 20s, you probably aren't starting off at $100,000 a year.
Yeah. Unless if you're an engineer, maybe if you have a specialized degree, like maybe
highly specialized. Yeah. But for the most part, if you're coming in with very little experience, maybe 1 or 2 years of an internship, you're probably not going to be making that money. Now, if you happen to meet somebody, if, as a male, you meet a female and, you have aspirations to grow in that space or take the learnings from that particular job and be fruitful and multiply that so that you are making more money and there's a plan for that. Yeah. Completely agree. Then, someone has a desire to grow and be better and not be stagnant and stuck in where they are. And so that is definitely an admirable trait that you want to, as a partner, nourish that in somebody. So,
and depending on who that is, it's probably better to nourish it at the beginning while that person is on their way up than to catch them when they've already hit that lick.
Right. Because then people are questioning, like
your motives. Yeah. Like, why is she around? And also it builds a sense of loyalty too. And, I think a lot of times when people reach a
Just goes
certain
back to staying power.
status in life, you don't know if people are truly with you because of who you are or because of what you have.
Are they genuine?
And so,
yep.
Yeah. So it's definitely a diamond in the rough. I'm not saying everybody is like that, but if, for example, if your man is working, I don't know, a corporate job, he doesn't necessarily have to be trying to go out and start his own business, but like, what is his 5-year goal? What is his 10-year goal? Does he want to move up in his role? Where does he see himself in the company or with the skill that he has or has acquired? I think that'll all let you know kind of where his mind is at in terms of growth.
Mm-hmm. So I, on my short list had, no, my not so short list, but did have growth on there. Someone who's willing to grow with you, not just from a job and financial standpoint, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally willing to grow with you, and who wants to support that growth for you, with you, but then that you can do that with, right? And who recognizes that who you are today probably isn't going to be who you are 10 to 15 years from now, but has that staying power to be along for the ride and the journey.
And to allow you to be who you are, because I feel like, what I've learned myself on my own journey is that you're with people, you experience people, you don't own people, right? And so you have to allow people to be
so true.
who they are.
Right.
Because if not, I feel like, I don't know why this metaphor is coming to my mind. It's like a rat kept like caught in a cage, like a mouse in a cage. Like you're just trying to get out, but you can't.
You can't.
You can't. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like it's very, I don't know, like just, it just creates a lot of just unsettledness, I guess, in your life when if you're in a relationship with a partner who does not respect the growth and does not understand that people grow and that people are different. And allow you to be who you are and what you want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had that as well. Be with somebody who you can take the makeup off with, who you could take the metaphorical wig off with, right? Who just allows
not
you
the lashes,
the lashes, the wig, whatever, the makeup,
ball ass eyelashes.
They're not as bad as you think. But I'll find somebody who appreciates and cherishes you for how you look and who you are when you're glammed up, but who loves you just as much, if not more, when you are dressed down and in your most comfortable and vulnerable state. Because we can't sustain the face for life, right?
Yeah.
We can't sustain the bodies for life. Age and gravity are going to get the best of us, child. So like, it's important to find somebody who really can who you can let your hair down with, literally, but and who's not going to judge you for that and meet you where you are, but appreciate you when you're glammed up and all that stuff. And I know that's a little superficial, but it's true.
But it's true.
And I want a man who wants you to constantly.
But I think that attraction really sustains people throughout like their years. I don't know why. When I see like these old couples, I just feel like they still see each other in the eyes of like, their younger selves. You know what I mean? The same level of attraction that, they have for each other back then when they were in their 20s or 30s or 40s, that they still have that in their 70s and 80s.
That when they look at each other, and like that twinkle is still in the eye.
Yeah.
Like the wrinkles are all on the face, but the eyes don't change. Right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So the third one on my list is kindness. So a person who's generous, helpful, and friendly. I mean, I don't need to expound on that, but I feel like there are some pretty horrible people out there.
Yeah.
And, a person doesn't have to be perfect, but I think that if a person is kind, it goes a very long way. And I think you can tell, people who are just like shitty people and people who maybe have flaws, but are kind at their heart. Right. They're good people at their heart.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that it sticks out to me and is high on my list.
Yeah. I had that considerate, kind, compassionate.
Yeah.
How do they treat their friends? How do they treat their family? How do they treat their
strangers?
Mom? How do they treat strangers?
Yeah.
Right? Like, are they, I don't want to say their pockets bottomless, but are they willing to do what needs to be done to make sure that the people that they care about in life, or even the people that they don't know, but they see are falling on hard times, are they willing to do what needs to be done to try and help someone's position be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Kindness is important.
Someone told me that you can tell how a man is going to treat you by the way he treats his mother.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true or not, but our producer is saying no.
There's no merit to that statement. To that. Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That's what somebody said to me back in the day.
That's always been true for me in my situations.
Okay.
Yeah. Like they've been very careful and have handled their mothers.
I have loved that.
Mothers.
Yeah. When I see a man like really treating his mother with respect. I mean, just the opposite. If I saw a man disrespecting his mom, I would be scared as as hell. I would be trying to run the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But if I see a man treating his mother well and treating her with the utmost respect and just kind of going above and beyond to make sure that she's happy and she's taken care of, I really respect that. And to me, that exudes kindness.
Mm-hmm. It does. But I will also say, ladies, if it seems a little weird, it's weird.
That's weird,
right?
Too.
So there's, we know
fine line.
There's a fine line because we know about this whole Oedipal complex, right? And how these men just be loving their moms a little too much. So if it feels weird, it's weird, and speak to them about it. I feel like the real ones will receive that information and be like, oh, well, like I haven't met anybody that I've cared about more than I've cared about my mom, and I've, maybe it creates an opportunity for conversation where like they don't realize it's weird because they've been doing it their whole entire lives. If they're open to it and they are willing to modify behaviors and they want to engage and find out like what does different look like, but how do I not like sacrifice giving and showing up for my mom, then that's a keeper. If they're like, nah, that's mom's, you got to go. Right. You don't want that because you'll always be second to third fiddle.
Yeah. And you don't want that. And you don't want someone who's going to constantly choose their mother over you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a red flag. So, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about whether or not he is kind to his mother, if he respects his mother. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about. But yeah, steer clear of the mama's boys.
So speaking of red flags, I did have on here, pay attention to the red flags and don't try to neutralize them. Recognize them for what they are, and don't try to fix them. There are some deal breakers that'll be out there, and you know what your deal breakers are. You know what triggering behaviors are going to not serve you well in a relationship. But I think a lot of times women, probably more so than men, we go into dynamics and we say, you know what, like he used to do this with an ex. Maybe he won't do this with me because I'm different. No, sis.
You can't.
You can't. You're not going to change a man's behavior.
You cannot.
You're really not.
You're not.
So if it's a red flag for you, and we're not going to sit here and tell you what the red flags are, but if it's a red flag for you, then recognize it for what it is. Figure out if it's something you want to tolerate or something you don't want to tolerate, but don't walk into that situation or stay in a situation thinking that you can change that man's behavior.
Because you can't. You absolutely can't. He has to want to change
for himself.
For himself. And if you have seen him treat an ex in a certain way that, raises red flags in your mind, then he'll probably treat you the same. Most likely.
That was a bullet. Pay attention to their past and
exactly.
And those common themes. If he did it consistently with them, he'll undoubtedly do it with you.
Undoubtedly do it with you.
Old habits die hard, child.
Yep. They do. And then the last one I have is what is his core beliefs and values? So if you both have the same core beliefs and values. So for example, you both believe in God, you both believe in Jesus Christ, you love spending time with family, etc.
Yeah.
I think that, what do you call it? Equally yoked. I think that, is that on your list? Yes. I'm sorry. We think the same.
We do.
I'm sorry you think the same. But seriously though, like, I just don't think a Christian, can marry a Muslim. That's not equally yoked to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because how are you raising your children? Mm-hmm. I think you set yourself up for friction in the beginning.
The blogs go love that.
Just saying.
It does happen.
What are you saying, producer? Are you saying it's true or are you saying that it happens? It happens?
He's saying that it happens.
It happens to you? Your family?
That's a real life
it caused
situation.
friction? It didn't cause friction?
Did one convert? Did one convert over? Okay.
Okay. So there we go.
Okay.
There you go. The conversion. So one would have to convert in order for it not to cause friction.
And I'm imagining the Christian converted to Muslim.
Who converted, producer? Converted to what? Islam. So he moved over to Islam. He was a Christian. Okay. Did they disown him?
Family's still Christian.
Okay.
He converted to Islam.
Okay.
Haven't disowned him.
Haven't disowned him.
I love that.
Okay. So he went over willingly, and you were raised as a Muslim. Both Christian and Muslim.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's an episode.
Look, that's a whole episode. That's a whole episode. Look, this is a different perspective because situations that I've seen or I know about in the past did not work out. Because people are, I mean, when it comes to faith, specifically if you've been raised in a certain faith for your entire life, it's hard to make the transition over.
Right.
And so I can see how it could cause friction, specifically when you have children involved and you're trying to decide kind of what religion you want to raise them up in. This is perfect case scenario, right? What our producer is saying, somebody was willing to convert over without kicking and screaming. And the children were able to have both religions, and I hope, eventually be able to decide for themselves as they get older what direction they want to go in. But again, that doesn't take away from my point that, core beliefs and values, I feel like have to be aligned.
Yep.
Because to me, that's the foundation of the relationship. And I feel like if that is uneven or there's some type of tension there, then that's just going to start to build a rocky house on a cracked foundation.
For sure. And, think about what that core value system is or belief system is, and then how that translates into how you raise your kids. And you'll constantly be fighting. One partner won't trust what the other partner does with the other. That's a huge one. Huge one.
Yeah.
So I had a couple more. How do they communicate? That's important. I mean, communication styles can be different, but like how effective at communicating, and specifically how do they communicate during conflict? Like what's their fight language? And do they play fair? So that I think is important for us to be considering when figuring out.
Can I put like a comma on that one?
Please.
Okay. I'll disagree with you there. Because I had a very strong fight language back in my day when I was unsaved and unsanctified. We've talked about this before. Everybody knows it.
Right.
All of my family and friends that are listening, my husband who's listening.
Machine gun kills.
You all know this. However, again, the staying power, being willing to grow and wants to grow is super important. I just think communication is one of those things that you think it comes so naturally and so easy, but it's one of the most difficult things for people to do effectively, right? And so I just, again, now if I was still Machine Gun Kelly and I was still going off and like, saying shit out of my
right.
No, but you have to want to work on that.
Right.
So I don't think that that's a deal breaker per se, but again, the willingness of a person to want to grow and to want to learn
and to be open.
And to be open, yeah.
To
receiving that feedback and then doing something about it, I think is important as well.
I think that's a huge caveat. I also had don't get dickmatized because you put me onto this word. Don't get dickmatized.
Hey, now you're using my words.
I know. And the question that I asked was, are you as turned on by their mind as you are by their body or body part? Physical staying power, we know over time wanes.
Yeah.
And so does the mind. But like, are you intrigued? Do you guys have mutual interests? Are you able to converse and have conversations that stimulate you mind, body, and soul? So I think at the very core, at the very foundation, I know we've always talked like men are incredibly visual, but we also have to think, I think men also need to think about like, hey, can I like hold and keep a conversation with this woman? Yeah. And I think women need to think the same because again, the physical wanes faster than the mental does.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, there's really nothing else to say about that. a lot of people do get caught up in the sexual sexual aspects of a relationship. I think that keeps people in situations longer than they should be, or longer than they have wanted to be. I don't think that you should marry somebody because if the sex is good. But again, when you're digmatized a bitch, you just make all kind of decisions like
irrational.
It's just like very irrational decisions. And I think being digmatized is different from having like a physical attraction to somebody. Like there's a sexual attraction and then there's a physical attraction. So yes, the physical attraction will wane. And as people get older, and again, gravity does its thing. But the sexual attraction to somebody, I think, deserves its own, little spin. Like, don't get caught up in connecting in the bedroom and only in the bedroom.
Right.
Right.
Because we've had, going back to season 1, right, where we talked about connection versus compatibility. Correct. And at the end of the day, like, you want a hybrid of both. But if being evolved women, right, you want more compatibility than you do want connection. But that connection doesn't always need to be physical. Like that connection can I just be intimate with my partner? And intimate means like just letting my hair down, being vulnerable, having quiet time, and feeling safe. Exactly what I was about to say. Feeling safe with that person. And that is a form of connection. And it doesn't involve like the pokey.
It doesn't.
So I really want some poke now that I said that.
Girl, goodbye.
I want some poke.
Why would you?
I know. Listen.
Anyway, I'm not going to even ask.
I know. Did you have anything else on your list?
No, I had 4. That was it. That was like literally I had to narrow it down because I'm like, I don't want to be superficial with this list and say stuff that like people say every day. I really wanted to be thoughtful and intentional about my piece of it, specifically just based off of like what has worked for me and the things that I find important and what have helped me to get to like where I am with being 10 years married. So that was really it. I wanted to keep it short and sweet.
I think it was a comprehensive list. It was short and sweet, and it got pretty much all of my bullet points. I tend to be more verbose than you, but
you do.
But at the end of the day, no, it's a lot of the same stuff. And I think
it is.
I think
what was on your list that I did not say that you think would be important for the girls to know?
So this was one. Pay attention to who he surrounds himself by and with.
That's a good one.
Because if he's surrounding himself with dope boys, know that he's the one that people are looking up to. I feel like it's important to look at who he surrounds himself by and who he hangs out with, because if he is the highest standard of the people that he surrounds himself with, just understand that's probably as high as he's going to get. So he needs to have people that are in a place where he wants to be, maybe in a place where he's been or where he is. Like, no judgment if the dope boys are what you like and that's your preference. But if you want someone who aspires to be more than that and gets their money a different way, hopefully they have people in their lives that are doing that, and they can at least look at and figure out how to emulate some of that behavior.
I've been totally turned off by like in situations like this before, like in the past, same. Like, but why? Like, why are you the most put together? Well, like to me, that just symbolizes the opposite, right? Like, you don't have driving goals if you're hanging around with people who don't have it. Like, how do you, I don't know, I guess self-motivation can go a long way. I don't know. But I just feel like when you're trying to elevate yourself, you look for other people who, again, to your point, who are going, where you're going or who are at where you're at. And you just don't have time for the same shenanigans maybe that you had time for, when you were a child, or and loyalty just does not run that deep for me.
Right. Now, I do get that, like, you might have dope boys in your life or whatever, like people who get their money in a fast way in your life. And you might be that person that they are looking to eventually be when they grow up, right? And so everybody needs to have that goal person in their life.
Why are we talking about D-boys? Can we talk about like people who are like, let's say people are going to college, who people are like working at. I don't want to piss. Like,
I know.
Working at McDonald's. Like, I'm just saying, like, what about people who are like, you know,
Doughboys, just people who get their money in different ways.
Different ways, yeah.
Different ways other than like the corporate, W-2 way. Let's just say that, right? So they might have an aspiration to be where you are. And so you're serving as like a role model potentially for them. And so I do think that it's okay if you have those people in your life, but let's not spend the lion's share of our time with those people, right?
That part. Yeah. I feel like, don't get caught up in like the day to day with still, again, surrounding yourself with those people and spending the time. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, it's great to be the person that everyone aspires to be like, but, have that, but then also have
that
someone else exactly that you can look to help you grow and develop as a person as well. But if you over index on this, using your word again on the side, I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like you say you want to do X, Y, and Z, but you're not showing that, right? Mm-hmm. You're still hanging out in the same places with the same people.
There's a lack of desire to grow.
Yeah, that desire to grow in advance. And so, I would be questioning that.
Yep. Agreed. So I think to put a pin on this or in this, I think at the end of the day, what we're saying is have a level of discernment. It's important to make sure that you kiss the frogs to find the prince, but make sure that your eyes are open, that you're looking at and for the right things. And know that your journey is going to be filled with highs and lows, and that there's no perfect person. But the important part is just making sure that you find somebody who is willing to grow with you, and who gives you the space to grow, and that who you can help along their journey of growth, so that you guys can, at the end of the day, show up as the best versions of yourself for each other.
Yeah.
And
it's best to not settle than to jump into something that is not the best situation for you.
Right. And take your time. Like, your timeline is your timeline, and don't let society tell you that like you need to do this by this time.
Oh, girl.
Because you'll end up regretting that decision.
That's all we're going to say. Real bad.
Real bad.
Oh. Period.
On that note, let's go to what's poppin'. Can we run it? Can we run it? What's poppin'?
Let's do it.
Let's
Good
do
journey. Come on. All right. Welcome. Good journey.
Hello. I already took a little sip.
Okay,
I needed to get into it. Okay. I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I got it right. So for today's stories, we have 2 clowns, an HBCU conundrum, and a bozo billionaire.
Oh.
Let us begin.
I know who the bozo is. Has to be.
Clown
has to be.
There's only one.
Exactly
start there.
Shall we? Let's start there.
We're going to start there.
The bozo billionaire obviously is Kanye West. And the reason he's a bozo billionaire this time around, and the straw that broke the camel's back for me, was his White Lives Matter shirt that he wore during Paris Fashion Week.
Oh, sick.
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to read this again because I don't want to get it wrong. But the phrase White Lives Matter, as seen on West's shirt, is described by the Anti-Defamation League as a white supremacist phrase that originated in 2015 following the start of the Black Lives Matter movement. Members of the Aryan Renaissance Society and other white supremacists have promoted the slogan. And by 2016, the KKK was doing the same. Now, if you are still rocking with Kanye West after knowing this information, you too are a bozo, not billionaire, but a bozo. And I said what I said.
1B, not the 2.
1B.
I don't even want to give it like, it's just so crazy. Like, it's so attention seeking. It's so obvious that it's attention seeking. He's trying to rile people up.
Totally.
He's trying to get people talking about him.
My scalp itch.
And he's doing it all in the disguise of being a genius and not, going along with like the sheep mentality. But it's so insane.
It's very insane.
It's really weird.
And this is the same Kanye West that a couple of weeks ago was blowing up the internets because he was saying that these white people, the Kardashians, were raising his black children and he didn't want them to raise them any. Sir, you are literally the worser of 2 evils. Like, do you not realize the damage that you're doing to the black community as somebody that's like at the pinnacle of pop culture? And he has a responsibility to do better. And he just refuses to do it every single time.
To do better. I think, again, mental health, I think he struggles with mental health issues. I definitely believe that like the loss of his mother played a significant role in his mental decline.
Definitely.
Donda would never let this happen.
Never, ever. But I really don't want to give it energy because I feel like that's what he wants. Like, I just feel like he's doing that to like piss people off. I just feel like everything he does, like even like the trash ass clothes that he
produces. And he literally put them in trash bags.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like literally trash ass clothes like that he got from like, you know, inspired by homeless people. And you know, he goes on TV and he's just like, everybody's not evolved and like like everybody else is crazy and we're sheep. And he's a genius. He's a genius. He's like a visionary. No, you're not.
No, you're not. He's a creative, and creatives are a little bit wonky.
Well, they're a little bit wonky and
creative.
like majorly condescending because that's where my mind was going. Where I can't put myself in Kanye's shoes, but in his mind, I gather that he thinks that he is way ahead of his time, and that us lay people are just so conditioned and brainwashed. But the reality is like this is our reality, and like. You are not Jesus. You're not the Messiah, despite
you're
what
not
you
Walt
think.
Disney. You're not Steve Jobs.
That's not happening here.
Like,
you're not changing.
You're
the
not going to
narrative.
change.
No.
You're not going to change history. You're not going to change the fact that blacks were enslaved.
Correct.
You're not going to change.
No matter how much money you amass,
you're not going to change people's lives.
Right. Well, you're just not going to change hundreds of years of understanding in like history with a T-shirt, and like you've got to do a lot more than just do what you've done. Create a couple of catalogs
100%.
and be a fashion
designer. Put himself
designer.
in a category with these greats like Steve Jobs, Apple.
It's hubris.
You're not doing that.
Hubris at
Walt
its
Disney
finest.
with Disney.
He's not even
You're
close.
not even close, Kanye.
It's giving, you know, that lyric, that Jay-Z lyric is like, he said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. And Jay-Z's like, okay. Like, it's one of those things, it's like, it's just a matter of time before you're brought down to earth by these white people that you love to worship so much that are not going to accept you as such. And then like the house of cards is going to come crumbling down.
Who's going to do it?
But
who's going to do it?
Like he goes in one week and he says like, my black children, he wants the black people to stand up for him and his black children. And then on the other, like, it's giving very bipolar.
It is. And I will say this.
Mental health's a real thing.
It is.
And I will say this. I will never buy another Kanye West item ever again. We're done with the Yeezys. I'm not going to burn the Yeezys that I have, child.
But I'm not. Are you going to still wear those Yeezys?
I'm going to still, because I bought them. I purchased them with my money. I'm going to buy them. Same thing you did with the R. Kelly catalog.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not buying more.
No, we're not.
But we're going to wear the ones that we have.
Cent will be spent on
never again.
Yeezy anything.
Never again. And I hope that other black people follow suit because this is out of control.
I want better for him. I think this is a very sad and devastating train wreck.
We're watching it in real time. Okay. Let's talk about two clowns. The first is Danny Lee. So Danny Lee, maybe I said this on my Instagram, but Danny Lee and DaBaby were once together. They have a child together. Mm-hmm. Apparently B. Simone was with DaBaby, plus a bunch of other people. Anyway, Danny Lee went on Wildin' Out, a show that B. Simone is a regular on. And Danny Lee said, if B. Simone is on this show, I will not be performing. A guest to the show.
Yep.
Do we get that?
I mean, was she with him at the time?
No, neither of them are with this man.
No, but was she with him at the time that she was supposed to go on the show?
No, this happened like last week.
But they don't fuck with each other.
Oh, okay.
But so you're going to stop my bag because you're being petty?
I don't think nobody's... Was she not able to be on the show?
No. What's her name? B. Simone was sat down that episode. Like she wasn't able to be on the show because Danny Lee said that I will not
And
perform.
B. Simone went on the show?
No.
Danny Lee went on the show?
Danny Lee went on the show. B. Simone sat her ass down. That's what happened.
Let me see what she looked like.
Well, the pettiness in me wants to
there
say...
There go B. Simone and there go Danny Lee.
The pettiness in me wants to say, girl, goodbye.
But are we going to add...
Who's the girl that you're goodbye?
I'm goodbye. What's her name?
Danny Lee?
No.
B. Simone?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Because if I don't fuck with you and you coming on my shit, then why would I say
she's
that
not.
I wanna...
She's going on Nick Cannon shit.
But
exactly.
I'm
going to mention Nick Cannon on this
But if I have pull, obviously she has pull. If I have pull and I don't fuck with you and I don't want to record with you, then I'll throw it out there and I should. Whether or not it sticks is on the owner. But if not, then
the whole thing about Wildin' Out is people are like throwing jabs at each other. It's like the dozens. Like, so if Danny Lee's on one team and B. Simone's on the other team, then throw your jabs at her verbally. Like that's the whole point of the show. She could have lyrically decimated that young lady and instead chose not to. I think it was clown behavior.
It's just that's
mosquito. Yeah, it's clown behavior.
Skeeter season here in Texas.
It is.
Well, I don't watch Modern. I don't know.
I don't either, but I just thought that the whole idea of somebody being able to stop somebody's bag because you're one of many women that your ex-boyfriend slept with is ridiculous.
Well, I don't think it was just that. I think there was some like friction and like back and forth between the two there. Like,
it was. But still, nobody's bag was stopped.
I give it all the facts. Give all the facts.
So are we going to add like recently what happened with Kendra G? And I guess I can't remember the urban radio station in Chicago.
Oh yeah. But that was a he said, she said, because Kendra G said that Danny Lee did the same thing to her. But Danny Lee's like, I don't know that lady. I didn't do that. Right. So that's why I didn't bring it up because it's unfounded yet. We still need some digging. Yes.
You know what? I feel bad for Danny Lee. Danny Lee has been through
How?
Because I feel like she has been through it. Like
so has B. Simone messing with these ball players. Everybody's getting cheated on.
I don't know. I don't know much about her. I really don't. And all I know is that what's her name? Danny was put out and had a baby and like just
that part
mortified,
embarrassed, completely embarrassed by her baby's dad. So she's fighting for her life out here. she's fighting for her life.
Big.
She fighting for her life.
The baby's not doing too well either. His last album has like 16,000
as
sales.
It should.
So karma's gonna come spin the block.
Get you. And he's like, there's no accountability there. And I know this is not a topic, but he's just like, everybody's trying to blackball me. No,
sir.
But are people trying to blackball him on account of what he did to Danny Leigh, who, for all intents and purposes, really only had like that one collab? Or are they blackballing him because he went after the LGBTQ community?
He's not being blackballed.
He turned on
but he was blackballed for the comment that he made.
But then he apologized and did all those things. But he's not being blackballed.
But that doesn't work if you're black and in hip hop.
But it
works if you clean your image up and you stop doing stupid shit.
And he didn't.
And he has not. Exactly.
That and he's not a good rapper. Like, let's be honest. Well, like at the end of the day, he's not good.
He had a couple of bangers.
Third of the exact same album.
Call a thing a thing, y'all.
Call a thing a thing. This is the third album that sounded exactly the same. He's done no work in trying to change his sound up to be he's fine. No Drake.
First two, no. Well, wait, no. No one is.
So I know. So it's not being blackballed. Just be better at your job, and then you'll sell things.
Just be a better person.
Yeah, I mean,
the baby.
Just be better.
Just be better.
Be better, the baby. That's all we got to say about that.
Be better.
I don't want to spend too much time here because Krishan Rock and Blueface are a hot mess express.
Oh, that's toxicity. Why are you
toxicity at its finest? I said clown behavior. She said it to me.
Did. Oh, you did. Oh.
Did, but it's clown behavior, and I wanted to add it.
But I like where she's going with this.
Okay. Yeah. So Blueface is a clown. Krishan's a clown, but Blueface always says that he's with other clown stuff. They're always with other people, and Krishan is
I'm sorry.
Krishan's a mess. She said that they're now broken up after all these women. It's like one after the other. Who's next? Have brought up videos saying that, and him laying beside them in the bed, and Krishan's finally like, you can have him. Yeah. Yes. You can have him. All of those things. So that both of them are clowns. I hope she does better for herself and removes the tattoo on her neck and the tooth in her mouth that has his face.
Well, she needs. Is the tooth the prosthetic tooth?
Yeah,
she's missing a tooth. Is that tooth that she got has him on it?
Yeah, the tooth that she can pull in and out has his face on it, and then she has a whole tattoo of him right here. Yeah. And then she had the audacity to say that we were never together. Ma'am, what? Not only did you go on Instagram and say, "Oh, that's my boyfriend now," but you also have a tattoo of that man's face on your neck.
Y'all go together.
So what is the angle? Like, why did we bring this to the table? Why did we bring this to the altar?
Why? Because this wasn't part of my clowns.
But you didn't have to bring it to the altar.
Why did we bring this to the altar?
The reason why I suggested that she bring it to the altar is because this is literally, it is Messy Boots Express. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, a female who we have said has come from here and went down here.
How did she come from here?
I mean, she was doing things for all intents and purposes. She had her own. She was doing
her life was
she
together.
Had a life. It was together.
Like it was seemingly together. And when you see pictures pre-Blueface, this lady looked like she was well put together. Mm-hmm. She had goals in her life she was after, and then she met this man, and it was giving very much Whitney and Bobby.
Hell in a handbasket.
Who was she? I
She wasn't
really don't
famous.
know.
No, she wasn't like a famous girl, but she
Right.
just looked like a
Like
woman
many
with
of them.
goals.
Oh, well put
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Like
Ah.
somebody that's like, oh, she's going to go to college and do something good with her life. But that wasn't at all the case.
No, and this was absolutely in my mind the tale of what happens when you get with a celebrity who is just the celebrity, and they
Who was a bad boy?
who was a bad
A bad
boy,
guy.
right?
Yeah.
So we know what she's been through. We know she's been jailed. We know she's had violence against him and vice
Yes.
versa. And we know
Back
that
and
she's
forth.
been subjected to a lot of different things. But my hope is, after all that is said and done, and the amount of embarrassment that she has gone through in the public eye, I'm just hoping that she sticks to this whole I'm single, and that she gets back to wherever she was prior to this. Like, I'm rooting for her. I'm rooting for the young girls.
She's in the abyss. child.
She
I'm
is.
rooting
She's
for
in
the
my
young
abyss.
girls
She
who
is.
literally see fame and think of that as an out and think that that's the way to go. That's not our story. You know what I'm saying? And I think that there are a lot of girls who think that like you need to jump on famous dick in order to get
To be
something
relevant?
and to be relevant. And at the end of the day, like that is everything that we don't preach here. It's about
Yeah.
amassing your own, staying true to your goals
Knowing
and your
your worth.
aspirations, knowing your worth,
Mhm.
and staying true to who you are, and not allowing yourself to be brought down by dudes like that.
Tying
So,
your wagon to somebody that's not going anywhere.
no.
All right, last
Right.
story. I'll keep it brief. HBCU, like the majorettes, the dancers. You have been to you are HBCU grad. We are PWI grads. So
you.
okay, that's fabulous. It is no shade.
Love
Swear,
that for you.
swear
Not
for God.
taken.
No shade. So there was a woman who goes to USC,
Mhm.
University of Southern California, PWI, who loved the HBCU culture so much. She brought are they called majorettes?
The
child?
majorette.
Yeah. She brought the majorettes to USC.
Okay.
Now,
Girl.
all the ladies on the line are Black women. So good for you, sis. However,
Is this a white woman who brought
no,
them?
it's all Black women.
Okay.
But she brought the majorettes to the PWI. And there's just so much history, as I understand it, from the majorettes. And now this particular group is getting so much shine. Like they were on the Jennifer Hudson show. This
Were they?
Yes, child. It's
Oh.
national news. They're everywhere. And it's just like, once again, it has to be in the scope of whiteness for it to be great. Like, why couldn't they just bring a majorettes from Southern or Howard or literally any
Right.
HBCU?
Yep.
Because they've been there for generations. Like, why is it now of interest to
Now,
you?
why is it now like a big?
Correct.
And I think it was because the Black girl was just like, oh, I'm created a majorette X, Y, and Z team squad at a PWI, and I think that was the celebration of it all. Like this Black woman was able to create a group at a PWI. But sis, just go to an HBCU.
That's the thing. And also, Black groups are created at PWIs all the time. There's Nigerian coalitions at PWIs. There's all sorts of
There's
African.
Black sororities and
That's what I'm
fraternities.
saying. So
Yeah.
why all of a sudden is this like? Because now what's going to happen? And I assure you, this is
They're
going to
gonna-
take no time at all.
Are they going to create a yard?
Yes.
They're gonna create what?
A yard.
Majorettes are going to be at PWIs all over the place.
Mhm.
And it's just going to lose the flavor that
I
it
mean,
once
I
had.
will say it's just a majorette group, and it wasn't all that big of a deal at Southern University, the Black HBCU that I went to. I mean, the Dancing Dolls, which was the dance team that danced with the band, was the big thing. And I mean, they have their own show now. It's
Mhm.
produced by Chris. He's from the NBA. I can't think of his last name right now. He's
Paul?
Paul. Thank
Mhm.
you. Chris Paul is a producer of it. So they have their own show. Check that out if you have not done so already. I haven't even done so. But like the majorette team it was not really that big of a deal
Interesting.
at my HBCU.
Really?
No, it was not. Probably because it was like
Mid.
exactly
Okay.
mid. So you had your Dancing Dolls, and that was like the premier dance team, and then you had like the majorette group.
Oh.
And obviously the dance team has certain standards, has
Yeah,
a certain
yeah.
look. And then your majorettes just kind of, to me, it was always just the people who couldn't make it. As,
So,
like, on the dance
so
team.
I didn't go to an HBCU.
Yeah.
So forgive me for my naivete in asking
Mhm.
this question. But are the majorettes are they on the field with the band?
No, the dance team is on the field with the band. So the
Okay.
majorettes are kind of on the sidelines still dancing, and they still perform. But the dance team at Southern University with Dancing Dolls are the ones who are on the field with the band, with
But
the
they're-
actual band.
But they're also like in the bleachers, right? Because I feel like
I don't remember. That's how insignificant they were to me.
Oh.
To
The
me,
majorettes or the dancing dolls?
the majorettes, child.
I see what
Okay.
you're saying.
Yeah,
The dancing-
love the dancing dolls.
Okay.
So I feel like
they had it
maybe
going
I've seen
on.
the dancing dolls.
Yeah, you've
That's
seen
what
the
I'm seeing
dancing.
on
You've seen the
TikTok, yeah.
dolls.
Right.
Had it going on. Beautiful. But majorettes, I don't know nothing about that. I don't. So again, I get what you're saying. Like, why is it a big deal now? But at
Right.
HBCU,
It's
like,
just simply not.
It's just not a big deal.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, the majorette squad. Yeah.
Well, I've learned something today. I
Yeah,
hope
me
you
too.
have to.
Yeah.
Go to
The
an
more
HBCU,
you know.
enrich your life.
I wish I did. That's one of
And
my
then-
major regrets in
We
life
talked
is not
about
going
this.
to the HBCU.
Okay, you're HBCU adjacent.
Hey, I'll take it.
Hey. So with that, thank you all for listening and watching. Please don't forget to follow us on IG at Champagne Wives Podcast and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will see you all next week. Same time, same place.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.